Buying pre-construction can be an amazing investment. And recently, with the beachland development sales underway and lots of micro developments selling on our MLS system, lots of buyers are asking questions about whether or not it makes sense for them. The thing is, there's a number of hidden taxes and fees that get added to a pre-construction purchase if you use it exclusively as an investment. And so today we're going to break those down so you know what to expect. I'm Sean P. I'm a real estate agent living in Victoria, and I make YouTube videos to help people understand how to navigate our market. If this is useful, please like and subscribe. And as always, if you have plans involving real estate, you can use the link in the video description to get in touch with me. Okay, so let's break this down. Pre-sales can be a great way to get into the real estate market. They're attractive to buyers because you get brand new product. It's never been lived in, and often you're able to make customizations or upgrades through the builder during the construction process. They're also really attractive because you're able to lock in today's pricing, but you don't have to start paying a mortgage for several years. So there's a lot of perks that draw buyers to this segment of the market. Additionally, we're seeing more and more in terms of development throughout the city. This is because we've just launched a new phase, the Beachland, which is absolutely massive, but also there are a ton of little micro developments that are taking place throughout the city as the province continues to push developments and make things easier. There's less red tape, and so developers are able to move faster, and we're starting to see all kinds of interesting stock come into our housing market. Decades ago, developers used to actually offer a discount to buyers who were purchasing pre-construction. The idea was that the buyers would be tied up for a few years while the developer finished the product, so there was a nice incentive for them to get a better price than they could buying the same product on the resale market. Now, this attracted investors, and what the investors realized was that this was a really neat and tidy way to invest in the real estate market. They got to ride the appreciation of the market for 2 or 3 years while the developer built their property. And during that time, they didn't need to manage tenants or maintain the home. They also didn't need to pay the mortgage. This led to a burst in the popularity of pre-construction. And over the years, developers realized that buyers would purchase them at par with the current market. They didn't even need to offer a discount. Now, it's become traditional for developers to price properties for pre-sale at par with our market because of this. So how do you get a deal? Well, what we've found is that developers will often offer the best deals at the very beginning of the sales cycle. They'll release a phase of a development, and in order for them to get their construction financing confirmed, they need to hit benchmarks in percentages of the units that they have pre-sold. Now, what they do to make this happen is they offer some of the best units at a discount right out the gate. And you can see this at Beachlands. They've already raised the price on their townhomes over $100,000. The best way to get a great deal on a new construction home is to be the first person at the door when they open the sales center. Now, even if you aren't the first person in the door, you can still turn a tidy profit on pre-construction purchases, especially if you choose the right unit. The problem isn't whether or not you're going to turn a profit. The problem is making sure that you factor in all the costs associated with actually purchasing pre-construction, especially if you plan to use it solely as an investment and you don't expect that you'll be moving in. The first one is easy. It's GST. In BC, GST applies to all new construction purchases, and that's a 5% tax. That's something that really adds up if you look at some of the sticker prices on homes. Now, there are some rebates available to first-time buyers purchasing new construction, but unfortunately, none of them apply past a certain price point, and in our market in Victoria, that basically wipes them all out. So factor 5% in for your purchase. In addition to the GST, you will also be paying a provincial transfer tax at the time of closing. Now, this applies to all property purchases in BC, including pre-construction, and it can add up to a fair bit. They charge different percentages based on different values. So the first $200,000 are going to charge 1%, and between $200,000 and $2 million, they charge 2%, and so on and so forth. They have 4 different tiers, and it goes all the way up to 5%. So it adds up quite a bit. For example, on a $500,000 purchase, you're looking at a price tag of $8,000, and for a $1 million purchase, you're going to be looking at $18,000 in provincial transfer tax. Okay, so now you own the place, and if you're moving in, then it's simple. But if you're planning to sell it right after construction completes, things get a little bit more complicated. In BC, we have two additional taxes you're going to need to prepare for. The first one being the speculation and vacancy tax. If you're selling the property and hoping to turn a profit on it, putting tenants in it is going to make that a lot harder. So most investors would choose to leave it vacant, maybe even stage it for sale. The problem is we have a speculation and vacancy tax in BC that applies to properties that aren't inhabited for most of the year. And if that's you, you're looking at a 0.5% annual tax on what they assume the market value of the unit to be every year. And if you're a foreign owner, that goes up to 2%. In addition to this, we also have a flipping tax in BC that they just announced this year in 2025. So if you sell it within the first year, you'll be looking at a tax of 20% on your profits. Now, if you sell in the second year, they've got a sliding scale where that 20% eventually makes its way down to 0%. But suffice to say that if you plan to sell it right after the unit completes, you'll get hit pretty hard. Phew! We love our taxes in BC. If you didn't already know it, BC actually stands for Bring Cash. Okay, well, jokes aside, the reality is these are still an outstanding choice for a lot of people trying to navigate our market. So let's look at a few. The first of which I'm going to say is first-time buyers. If you've never owned a property before and you're not familiar with home maintenance, well, new construction is going to be a much simpler way for you to get into the home ownership experience. And pre-construction also will give you some time to further enhance your savings while they build the development. Also, if you are just starting your professional career after university, well, a lot of the time lenders will want to see a few years of work experience, and you can secure today's prices and then wait a few years building that up, which will likely make you more appealing to better lenders. The second one is investors. Now, if you're an investor and you're looking at purchasing a pre-construction property, you're not excluded just because there's some taxes that apply. All that it means is that you should look for a property that you're comfortable closing on and holding for a few years. I often tell people that they should plan to hold for between 4 and 7 years. That's kind of the sweet spot where the property will have worked itself in, the development will have grown in a little bit, the plants and shrubs will all have taken their time to actually come in, and the place will look a little bit better. And you also won't be selling right as soon as it's finished, along with a number of other investors, which can often lead to competition in the marketplace, which pushes down pricing. Finally, downsizers should also watch the pre-construction market. If you have the means to do it, buying a pre-construction home in advance of when you plan to downsize can be a great way to plan ahead. The other thing is you can often get away with renting it out for a few years without it impacting you in terms of capital gains down the road when you go to sell. Obviously, speak to your accountant to figure out how this all works, but it's a great way to get into an investment early and ride both properties up in the marketplace while you wait for yourself to feel ready to make the jump. No matter who you are, buying pre-construction offers a way to get into our market that's more comfortable and straightforward than a lot of the other options in our marketplace, especially if you want a modern home. So if it's something that you're looking at and you want to talk it through, you can use the link in the description to get in touch with me. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and if this brought you value, please like and subscribe so you don't miss anything else that we have coming up. I'm Sean P, and we'll catch you on the next one.